And this is the thing. It's like I think also the one thing as well that's been really good about being in the game space, which you don't necessarily get in film and or even TV, and especially not in TV. Games, you're almost incentivized to fail.
Thanks so much to our episode sponsors, Hero Forge. Oh, our favorite. Welcome to Hero Forge, where your creativity knows no bounds. Whether you are a character builder, a 3D printing enthusiast, or a virtual tabletop adventurer, Hero Forge has something special just for you. You can step into their intuitive character creator, where you can design stunning, high-resolution characters in full 3D right in your browser. I cannot tell you how many hours of my life I have lost to enjoying this feature. With a vast library of thousands of parts and customization options, the only limit is your imagination. You can purchase your unique character designs as custom 30mm scale miniatures, the perfect addition to your RPG adventures. Choose from materials like paintable plastics, rugged metal, or color plastic for vibrant, table-ready minis. Hey guys, that means you don't have to paint them yourselves, and as much as I really want to be talented enough to paint them, I just haven't been able to achieve that yet. So you can do it this way too! If you prefer 3D printing, download detailed STL files of your designs directly to your Hero Forge account. Just unzip and print at home, super easy. For virtual tabletop enthusiasts, bring your custom characters into cutting-edge programs with 3D digital miniatures. With the Access Key feature, seamlessly sync your miniatures with supported platforms. No downloads required. They make it so easy. But wait, there's more! If you're craving even more customization, upgrade your Hero Forge experience with a Pro subscription and unlock a treasure trove of additional functions. Gain early access to upcoming products and features, export unlimited 2D digital portraits and tokens, or mesmerize your audience with the Spinny Mini feature. Spinny Mini, that's fun to say. Showcasing your character from every angle. There is something for every adventurer at Hero Forge. Get started designing, saving, and sharing your characters today. Hero Forge, your imagination brought to life. Hello and welcome to the Character Select Podcast. I am Anjali Bhamani.
And I'm Julia Bianco.
And we are coming to you with our first remote episode because we have such an extraordinary guest we are so excited about. And we were hoping to somehow manage to either get to him or fly him out from the UK. But we wanted to have him on right now because he has put out a game recently that is mind-blowingly beautiful, and the timing of it. See, you can hear his beautiful voice laughing in the background. We're just going to jump to it. Abubakar Salim, hello, friend.
Hey.
It is so good to see you. Look at that smile.
It's great to be here, honestly. This is lovely. This is really,
Oh, well, you are... when we met last year in October, doing the London Dungeon Tour, which I think is hilarious,
right?
Which is a whole other story. But all I knew about you was that we had been in a game together and that we had mutual friends and the beloved people at Critical Role and that you were a lovely human being. But then to dive in to your story and to your history and learn even more about how extraordinary you are and what you have done has just been... It's been a joy going down the rabbit hole.
It's been surreal.
I can only imagine from your vantage point what things have been like. So let me start off by introducing you in the very formal way to our listeners/viewers. Let me pull up the magic iPad that for some reason is not letting me blow it up, so that's delightful. Let's do it this way. This is better. We're high tech here. We're going to use paper. I know. When Abubakar Salim introduces himself these days, not only does he get to call himself an actor with roles in monolithic shows like House of the Dragon and Raised by Wolves, he can also call himself the founder of the video game studio Surgent Studios, the developer behind the highly anticipated and now incredibly well-reviewed action platformer Tales of Kenzera. As a child, Salim wasn't big on television, but was able to bond with his father and find his love of storytelling by playing video games like Sonic the Hedgehog and Legend of Zelda. He first channeled his love of storytelling with theater. As a teen, he was part of the National Youth Theater, which helped him break into television. He debuted in the ITV series The Jury in 2011, and before he could start racking up BAFTA nominations and critical acclaim, Salim's father passed away in 2013 from cancer. Landing the role of Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins a few years later did more than allow him to branch into the industry that started the path of his career. It also inspired him to express the grief of his father's passing through the medium that had bonded them. In 2019, Salim founded Silver Rain Studios, later rechristened Surgent Studios, and began work on the studio's debut game, Tales of Kenzera, with EA Originals on board to publish. Deeply inspired by Bantu folklore, the game follows the protagonist Zhao, voiced by Salim, who must wheel and deal with the god of death to bring his father back to the land of the living. On April 23rd, Tales of Kenzera released to very favorable reviews, highlighting the powerful storytelling and representation. Destructoid called it an essential game, while Eurogamer called the storytelling vital and passionate, and emphasized the fresh and unique representation shown through the world of the game. IGN heaped praise onto the game for the environments, writing, "Finding a screenshot of this game that looks anything less than beautiful would take an act from a spiteful god." Okay, so yes, they said all these things, but I can say from personal experience, jumping into playing this game, we ended up postponing this, recording this episode because I wanted the chance to play the game. And I, full disclosure, don't play a lot of the games that I want to be playing right now, usually because of time, but I was so excited by it. And boy, it did not disappoint. The music, the visuals, the finding myself physically like moving in the room as if I were Zhao. Like it's such an immersive game.
That means so much.
That it obviously comes from your heart. And so talk to us about this connection that you had to games from an early age that started you on this path.
Yeah. So look, I mean, like, you know, my introduction to games really was because I think my father could see that TV and that stuff just didn't really do it for me. Going outside wasn't really a great option because the area I lived in wasn't necessarily that great, and you know, books were just, it was just words. You know, I couldn't really kind of connect with them. So to be now in a position where, like, you know, I don't know how else to kind of escape or sort of, you know, enjoy things. My father bought a Mega Drive. And it was there where I played Sonic, and I just got onto it, like Sonic, Golden Axe. Like, it really, these games were like so pivotal to me and really important for me at that time. So yeah, that's essentially where it started. And I think what was, you know, gripping for me was this was now I'm able to escape in these worlds, but also play in them. So I felt like I was part of them, you know, almost like you know, the best way I can describe games now is like, it's like reading a book, but the book is alive. And, you know, because you're feeling like you're actively turning the pages as you go along, but the world is very much alive in front of you. So this is the stuff that really connected with me as a kid. And as kind of time went on and my knowledge within games sort of deepened, my love for the storytelling and the lore and these just fascinating worlds just grew stronger. And, you know, my father, bless him, would listen to me talk about these stories and talk about these worlds and talk about everything like this. So even though he didn't play himself, I mean, every now and then he might do, but like, he never really played. He would listen. And I think like that's what really got my love as well for telling stories kind of going, because I really wanted to share these worlds and share these, you know, these experiences with him.
I love that so much. We talk a lot about how games give players agency where they don't have it in most other media, because they don't have a chance to be a part of telling the story. And as professional storytellers, there's some place that we wanted to switch and become the storyteller and the story creator at the same time. Was there a particular moment when you started in your career where you were like, oh, wow, I can do this as a job. This can be my life.
Honestly, it was after doing Assassin's Creed. Like, Assassin's Creed was the one which really opened the doors to me learning about what game development is. Like, I had no idea that people were making games. Like, I genuinely, and I'm not even joking, I genuinely thought you'd put these like cassettes or these CDs in this thing, and like magic happened, like gremlins inside the machine.
You are not alone.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I had
I
no
do.
idea. I had no idea people made these things.
We've talked about this too. We recently had Jennifer Hale on, and I played Baldur's Gate when I was a kid, the original.
Right.
And I didn't clock that there were human beings behind the game.
Do you know what I mean? Who made these things?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was, when I remember going to Ubisoft and just sort of looking around the offices and being like, huh, okay, there are people here, and that's essentially where it all came alive, really. And like, and and I always say this, I think if I knew that you could have a career in games before acting, I probably would have been a game developer from the get-go.
What started you in your acting career before you knew all of that? Like, what was was there a moment of?
Yeah, funnily enough, it was the National Youth Theatre. So again, like I kind of grew up in a sense of like not really knowing what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. And, I kind of fell in love with acting because I was able to jump into these characters that weren't me and sort of explore different angles and different, sort of perspectives. And I enjoyed that and kind of escaped myself and my reality for a bit. I kind of liked that. And when I learned, when I learned that you could essentially have a career in it, I was like, great, well, this is what I want to do. I just want to be an actor. Not knowing, of course, how hard it is and how crazy it is. But again, at that time, I was very ignorant to the idea of it all. I was just like, yeah, I'll do it. And it was funny. The National Youth Theatre was the one moment where I was auditioning for it. And, I remember telling myself that if I don't get in the first time round, and I always do this, and it's probably a terrible habit, but I always do this. I said to myself, if I don't get in the first time, I'm just going to go join the army.
Oh, gosh.
I know. What
an alternative.
Okay.
What an alternative, right?
But I'm gonna support you in this mindset, even though it's probably not healthy, because I have done a similar thing many times when I have been standing off stage, ready to go on stage, telling myself, I should have been a doctor. I should have been a doctor. It's less stressful. Why am I doing this? I should have been a doctor. I should have listened. I should have just gone to medical school and been a doctor.
This is
it's
it.
like those are our options.
Wouldn't you have that moment in surgery anyway, right before you slice someone open?
I would probably have been significantly more nervous doing surgery, but we give ourselves these ridiculously extreme options.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. And I remember just saying that to myself and then auditioning and getting in the first time and being like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to be an actor then. That's essentially how this whole thing happened. And even with drama school, like I had only auditioned for 2 drama schools. Because first of all, I didn't even know drama school was a thing. And then my teacher told me a bit too late that, oh yeah, you can go to drama school instead of uni. Because I didn't really want to go to university. I didn't really like the idea of doing like an exam or formal. Like it just, because it took me writing, it was just a pain for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't want to do uni. I'll just try and be an actor anyway. But I feel like I need some form of, training. And then, I learned about drama school. And I remember I had 2 auditions. There was one at RADA and then one at Lambda. I was too late to apply for the Guildhall one. And those were the only ones that I knew of. I didn't know that there was loads of drama schools as well. And my RADA audition was the first one, and that went terribly. I had, went in with a suit, with a suitcase, and I was basically giving a theory as to why I should do this speech, and essentially was like, and this is my Henry V speech, and they were like, okay. And that was terrible. And then I went for my Lambda audition, and the Lambda one, I remember at the time just being like, you know what, screw it. If I don't get in, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do drama school at all. And I got in. So I need to essentially, I need to put myself in these horrible, extreme situations in order to get something done.
I mean, look, I'm very much a person who can also relate to that, because a lot of times I will do so much better under the pressure that I impose on myself that no one else did. Mm-hmm. So I can see that. And you certainly put a tremendous amount of weight and love into this game. which makes sense why it is so extraordinary, because the stakes are very high in this game for you.
Yeah.
In this creation. So when did you make the decision to start Surge? I mean, I know what date, but what finally made you go, no, I'm going to make this game?
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. No, I was just curious right before that if anybody had any opinions about your other fellow drama folk, had any opinions about you going down the game path. Or if you got any resistance on that side of things. Sorry.
You know what's funny? It's one of those ones where I'd started a studio without the permission of anyone. I'd kind of been like, I'm going to start a studio. I'm going to, I have a voice now. And I think that voice really was kind of, I gained the confidence of that voice when I started working on Raised by Wolves. Because when you've got someone like Ridley Scott saying yes to you, you're like, okay, then I think I've got a decent voice here. So that was really what triggered me to start this thing. And then what kind of, what ended up happening with going for the game as our first sort of our debut, our thing, like, the thing to drive us forward. It wasn't actually the actors who told me, or like, this is, a crazy thing, why don't you do a film or whatever. It was actually game developers being like, you're insane. Like, get out now while you still can.
Well, you still have a shirt. Yeah.
Part of me still feels like I should have listened to them, but we're here now. But yeah, so that's essentially what ended up happening was like, I remember telling people that I want to make a video game. How do I do it? Because I had no idea how to begin with. And I was, most of the time, 9 times out of 10 of the people that I spoke to were like, don't do it. But like at the same time, they gave me good advice as to like what to look to, what to listen to, who to talk to. And I slowly built a team that way. Again, through ignorance. It was pure ignorance in regards to not knowing the levels of work it takes to really get a studio up and running and a game out of there. Like, it was a lot. So that's really kind of where it all came from,
Yeah, it's. I imagine it's the same kind of response you got when you said you wanted to be an actor. Period.
Oh, totally. I think because it's the same resistance of like, you're crazy. No one becomes an actor unless they're like, Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? And it's like, but then you got to think like most of these people like Brad Pitt or even like George Clooney, right? It's like they had to start somewhere.
Exactly. Exactly.
What was the biggest surprise for you about the game development process from your perspective?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, and it changes all the time because I always find myself waking up and being like, oh, yeah, that happened. I would say the biggest surprise was both how easy and how hard it is. I think the thing is, like, the games industry is so accessible. You can learn how to make games. Anyone can make a game, right? And that's what's scary about it. And that's what's hard about it, because it's like, then, so what's so special about your game?
Yep.
And I think like that was, the thing for me that was really quite a big surprise was, and also like, not many people have actually shipped a game. Like, you'd be surprised about how many people actually have shipped a game. So yeah, I would say like, it's such a technical art form that, and it really highlighted itself when you're in it, because it's different to like making a film where you do the film, you move on, Whereas this with games, you have to constantly keep evolving and keep moving forward. It's a very interesting development, basically.
Iterative.
Yeah.
You keep iterating, keep changing, keep
adapting.
adapting.
I think that's the thing.
It's got to be fun.
Yeah,
first and foremost, right?
And this is the thing. It's like, I think also the one thing as well that's been really good about being in the game space, which you don't necessarily get in film or even TV, especially not in TV. Games, you're almost incentivized to fail. You're incentivized to fail fast, because through failing, you can find what works. Whereas in TV, if you mess up that shot, that's time. That's money. You know what I mean? And like, if you don't, and even if you do a take, that's that one take locked in. You've now probably got even one left, or like another in there. So, and whereas in games, you can make mistakes, obviously to a degree. And that was quite surprising, was just how you didn't have to have all the answers at the beginning. You could
You
find them as you
can't.
go along. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't. You really
You
can't.
can't. I mean,
Yeah.
when did you have a finished script?
What, for the game? Like, literally within the last 6 months of development.
Yep.
Not
Yep.
even. It was still changing. Like, I say, like, honestly, for the 4 years we've been developing this game, that final year is when that game came through. Because
Yep.
it literally, it's an art, man. It's an art process. It's a creative process. And you just don't have the answers until you are forced to have an answer.
Yeah.
I wish that's it. That's what I need all actors to know, right? Is that because I think that it can change your entire approach to a performance when you know that we don't have the answers. When we're still looking for these, which means you have more opportunity to bring us those answers.
Yeah, totally.
I think one of the best pieces of advice recently that I have heard given, and I've certainly been using it in my own TV and film auditions to great success, happily, is when Michael Keaton was talking about you got to go into your audition like you already booked the role and like you're going to work, like you're actually going on set right now to play that role.
Yeah.
And understanding that you have the freedom because of that, you have the freedom to do it your way.
Yep.
And it sounds so freeing in terms of game development, how freeing to go from that world where we maybe have one or two takes to the world where, like, no, we're gonna make mistakes.
You're gonna make
That's
mistakes.
part of the process, and that will teach us going forward. And we're not gonna not have a successful game because of that.
Exactly. You know, it was the biggest, one of the funniest things, and I'll carry this with me wherever I go. I remember when I pitched to EA the game idea, and they pulled me aside. They said yes, and this was after signing it all and everything. And they literally pulled me aside and said, "Listen, mate, just so you know, the game that you pitched to us is not going to be the final game that you're going to be coming out with." And I remember looking at them being like, "What are you talking about, man? Do you know me? Do you know me?" Anyway, cut to, the game is definitely not the game I pitched to them at the first time.
Yeah. But how generous of them to say that in advance to prepare you for the journey. Because certainly, again, I don't feel like it happens in television where they tell you when you finally sold your pilot, okay, but it's going to look very different afterwards, and just be prepared for it.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was a gift. It was a gift them telling me it, because it removed the pressure of me having to try and deliver the thing that I told them I wanted to deliver.
Don't hold on too tightly, because
Exactly.
and especially when someone else is paying for your dreams. I think that's something that happens in music a lot, is people get really precious and they don't want to make the changes that the label or whoever wants to make, and obviously that's neither here nor there, but it's being adaptable in those scenarios.
Absolutely.
For the people who have done it before, but also the people who know what works most of the time.
Most of the time. And I think, like, it's key to also remember that we all want the same thing, you know? Like, I think, and you all want to deliver an experience that moves people, or is fun and enjoyable, and does something different to people. And I think that's kind of where I was, even when it got to feedback on elements that I was very strong on, but EA might not necessarily have agreed on, or even the team itself, like we were kind of at contention for. It's all because we care. It's all because we want to essentially ensure that we are delivering an experience that feels the best of what it can be. And as long as you have that in mind, it removes the ego in a way. It removes the sense of like, oh no, it has to be my way. It's funny, like I'm currently going through all the Steam reviews, for example, right now, and like kind of replying back to all reviews, both negative and positive, and what the way I sort of see it is like, this is feedback that is, they've written it in there because they care.
Yeah,
they could have easily have just refunded the game and moved away, or just said something really stupid and then just left, right? And actually, no. People here have come in here and they're giving feedback, and they're like, look, this is my experience, this is what it is, and it's because they care. And there's so much respect to that, man. Like, I respect it so much, and it's one of those ones where I'm like, yeah, this is, as long as you're not precious about things, as long as you actually know that you're all going towards the same direction, be it either you're the director or you're the writer, you're the coder, or wherever, like, be it games, film, TV, anything, like, all going to want to try and make it the best experience of what it can be. It's all good. You know?
What do you feel is something that changed significantly from the beginning of the process to now that was a surprise to you? Like this,
Yeah,
like they
I
had
think
said.
I think it was just the reality of like, yeah, you'll get to a point where it's the cutting room, right? It's this room where you have to kill your darlings. You don't know what there are elements and stuff that you want in. You have to make sacrifices. You have to pivot. You have to be really, really ruthless. Like, and the things that you thought were easy really are not. Like for example, there's the map is a big thing for us. Like it was either, we were at a point where it was the choice of, do we actually have a fully working map which works, to the basic form, but sacrifice combat and sacrifice, elements of, the moment to moment, or do we work and refine the combat and the elements of that and make that feel really good, but come with a really kind of basic map with no fog of war or anything like this. And we made the choice to look at combat. Now, one of the things that we keep getting spoken about is our map, and you're like, oh God. But at the same time, you're like, no, but the win is here. So, and it's just like, you've got to kind of take these things into consideration. Like, it really, that's the thing about game dev, man. Like, it's not black and white. Like, it really isn't. It's so, there are so many complexities to it, but from an outside perspective, from the person who might not necessarily know what it means to develop a game, it is kind of black and white, because they're receiving something that is like, this is a finished product, right? So it is, but it's a technical art, man. It's a technical art, and it's
we used to have to fight over disk space.
Oh,
I mean, and that was
right?
sound. Like, and sound was like, psh, we're not using any space for you. We got to make this game function. We have to have the physics systems. We have to have all this stuff. So we were always the redheaded stepchild for that, because you got to have the other stuff before. So it's
That's
like compress.
Well, thankfully, you did not have to do that on Zao, because your score that Nanita put together is.
Nanita killed it, man. It's so good. So
and
good.
It's such a huge part of the experience of the character of Zao, which our show's called Character Select, so we want to talk very much also about the performances and what went into that. I don't know anyone who's been a game developer and also like the game creator and also the lead in the game. So discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny actually. The process of actually writing Zao and creating Zao, it even though it was pulling from a lot of personal spaces and experiences that I've gone through, when I got into the booth to actually voice him, it felt like just another character. It didn't feel close. You know what I mean? It was really interesting. Like doing it, because I felt like, okay, this is me as the actor doing my job as the actor, voicing a character as the actor, rather than necessarily being like, oh, I know this character, inside and out. And it's funny, like even in the booth, I just ended up discovering new things and new ways of saying lines that I thought when I'd written it, oh, no, that's how he would say it. No, it was just completely different, and it was really, really fascinating and really cool to kind of realize that you've got two different hats. You're wearing two different hats. It's the same thing even with My Shoes, Your Feet, my short film. Like being able to sort of directing it was very different to being in it. You know what I mean? And so that was like something that was really eye-opening as well.
For those of you who don't know about the short, this is an extraordinary short that Abu put together called My Shoes, Your Feet, about the emotional heart, I think, of why you made this game, right? About processing your father's passing and where it has taken you and what it has brought you. And as soon as you are done listening to this or watching this on the YouTube, please go check out that short, because it's such a beautiful way of telling that story and introducing the world to where this game came from.
We'll link to it in the show notes.
We'll link to it here or somewhere. I'll point around to cards, and we'll also put it in the show notes, wherever it will pop up. Was there any other aspect besides the acting that you felt, I mean, obviously the writing, but any other surprise to you that affected the how do I put this, affected the shipping of that character so that people, because it's very easy, you connect immediately as a player, you connect to this universal journey that Zhao is on, regardless of the tapestry of the culture, regardless of the action. Was there anything else that you felt like was a surprise that went into
Actually,
into that?
I would say, the more vulnerable I was, the more I opened myself up to the character and kind of really listened to the words and connected with them, the easier it became. The more natural it felt. And again, it's very surreal because it's that whole thing of, I did genuinely feel like I was stepping in the booth to a new character and trying to do a new thing. Like, it wasn't like Zhao was almost like a different, it was, as the actor, this was the first time I'm looking at this character as the actor. And so, yeah, I would say, like, the more I sort of gave myself to this role, the better it felt. And it's actually something that I've now taken with me with everything I now do. Like, with even in House of the Dragon, like, I'm just giving myself to this character, and more so than I was beforehand. I think beforehand I was very kind of surgical about it and very cerebral about it. Like, what does he mean by this? And where am I saying this? And typical sort of, in a way, kind of drama school objective sort of thing, right? Whereas now I'm like, no, I just feel it, man. Just feel what he's saying, like why he's saying it, why those words are coming. They just are. And you just do it. And it's because ultimately that is the progression of storytelling. That is what it is. And so, yeah, I'd say that was a big surprise for me, was just like how the more of myself that I gave to this character, the more I empathized, funnily enough, the more I felt for them. And it's not like talking about method acting here. It's literally just being open,
That's beautiful. I do want to offer up one more shout out, which might seem awkward because I'm going to shout out another podcast, but you did a wonderful episode of Play, Watch, Listen with Austin Wintory, who is our beloved Austin.
Austin's great, man.
Shout out to Stray Gods. Yay. Yay, Eros on Stray Gods. We loved you as Eros. It was very fun playing Medusa opposite your Eros.
It was very beautiful.
But this episode that Abu did on Play, Watch, Listen was so... Anyone who's interested in learning more about that game development process and building his company and all of that from behind the scenes through his journey, go check out that episode, because it gave me so much more fire and heart about... we talk about this a lot, that it's just like, as a creator, sometimes you go, I want to make that. Period. I don't know how, but I'm going to make that. And that's exactly what you did. You just did it with a freaking game company. Amazing. Which is absolutely amazing.
Oh, man.
So now we're going to switch gears entirely, because on this show we like to talk about your favorite performances and iconic performances that affected you. And you have chosen Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Now I'm going to hold this very far away because I forgot my glasses again. So I'm going to hold this very far away and read about Sora. Few franchises are as immediately recognizable as Kingdom Hearts. The collaborative RPG between Square Enix, known as Squaresoft for the first game, and Disney has been a massive hit out of the gate. It has spawned 13 main series installments, with 2 more entries on the way, across several handheld and home video game consoles since its release in 2002. Most of them have been solely led by the cheerful, plucky, spiky-haired protagonist Sora, and all have featured Haley Joel Osment as the voice actor. The series follows Sora and his band of merry Disney companions, Donald Duck and Goofy, as they traverse far-off worlds in search of King Mickey, making friends and battling dark forces along the way. The series is beloved for celebrating connection, adventure, and friendship. Starting as a 14-year-old in Kingdom Hearts, Sora was designed by Tetsuya Nomura to be an ordinary kid with an extraordinary destiny, allowing his extreme normalcy to empower him instead of any supernatural abilities. He became the happy medium protagonist, with Square initially wanting Mickey Mouse to front the series and Disney pushing for Donald Duck. As a compromise of sorts, Donald became one of Sora's companions, and Mickey is referenced in Sora's outfit in the first game and in the Game Boy Advance sequel, Chain of Memories. Osment was a well-known child actor at the time of his casting, with leads in blockbusters The Sixth Sense and AI under his belt. He happened to be close to Sora's age in the first game and has been able to lend his voice to the character for the last 22 years,
Wow.
allowing him and Sora to grow up together in front of the game's very passionate fan base. The role stands as Osment's longest running of his career. That would be the longest running of most careers.
I think so too.
Right? That's not a procedural? Yes, absolutely.
Oh man, it's so good.
So tell us about how you found Kingdom Hearts. What was that?
Man, I was again. So I was in my bedroom. My dad would have my PlayStation was there, and we had a TV there that he would actively put there and then remove, every time, because he knew I would play this into the night and whatever. So he'd be like, "Look, you can play now." And I will actively remove it when your time's up. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Anyway, he brought this game back from Blockbusters, and Blockbusters is like a store. I'm sure you guys must have had Blockbusters as well, right?
We did
Where
back
you
in
could
back in the day.
Back in the day, right, where you could rent games and film and whatnot. And he rented this game called Kingdom Hearts, and I remember looking at this game, being like, "What the hell is this? Like, this doesn't okay, cool. Like, I'll give it a try." And it was, I think he got it because he saw Disney characters on it, and he knew that I loved Disney, and Disney was cool, but this, it was just an interesting game. Anyway, I remember putting this game in my in the PlayStation 2 at the time, and the opening title screen with the music just hit me on another level. I just and like, I'm a kid, right? Like I'm like, I've never really, I'm playing games, and games are cool, but this was emotional, and I was just like, wow, what is this? And funnily enough, actually, the opening of Tales of Kenzera, the title sequence, is paying homage to Kingdom Hearts because of the artwork and the music. And I just remember playing this game, meeting this character called Sora, who had big feet. I had big feet. So it was like, there's a connection there. But I just remember it being, it was very simple. It was this guy, this kid who just wants his friends back, who just wants to, he's on this emotional journey of just wanting to bring his friends back. But it's like the weight of the world was on his shoulders, because, he was basically thrown into this thing of having to save the world, this destiny. And I don't know, it really made me feel for this character, this young kid, this young boy, this young boy who feels like he's got to, he has to do something, but all he wants is simplicity and the normalcy of just hanging out with friends. And that really resonated and really kind of hit me and stuck with me. And I think, like, it was also, one of it was fully voiced. So, I'm you're almost in a world that you're listening to actively, and kind of almost like a film in itself. It was just a game that I remember playing and feeling so emotionally moved. It wasn't this, macho sort of, killer, or like this cool, like sexy, whatever. Like, it just was what it was. And unapologetically was emotional and raw. And I think it really resonated with me. Plus, with the fact that it was mixed with all these Disney characters, it just was like, it shouldn't have worked, but it did.
Yeah, it does seem like the oddest combination. Then you're like, no, that tracks now.
That tracks.
I see.
Final Fantasy and Disney. What?
Yeah,
like,
what?
it doesn't make
Sure.
any sense. Like, but it just did, and it really, that was the first time I'd met Cloud and Sephiroth. It was through there, even though there were massive characters in Final Fantasy VII. Like, to me, that was my, sort of introduction to them. And it's like, I don't know, there was something about this game, and at the time that I was playing it, that it was the first game I think I rented 3 times because I wanted to complete it and play it and enjoy it. Like, because normally you give a game back 5 days afterwards, right? And like, or whatever time you want to give it.
Yeah, Blockbuster, what were you thinking?
I know.
5
honestly,
days? Come on.
Unbelievable.
How much time you think we have in those 5 days?
Exactly. And so, I remember that I had to keep hold of it. I had to keep hold of it. I had to do everything. I had to play everything. I had to dive into everything. It was honestly, it was more than, that was where I realized that games are more than just an entertainment sort of space to release. That's where I realized that they're an art form, and that they can speak to you, and that they can talk to you and move you and have you see things and change things. And it just, it was such a powerful experience.
Did you stick with the game through more iterations of it, or
did everything? Did everything. I've and I think the last one obviously I played was 3, and it's funny playing it a bit older now. Whereas before then it's very different, right? I think as a kid you're sort of exposed to a lot more things, but at the same time you kind of let things go. Whereas as you kind of get older, things are like a bit more like, well, actually that doesn't feel great, and you've got all these opinions, right? And even I remember playing 3 and thinking to myself, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. But again, I still completed it, and I still really enjoyed it. And I'll be honest, like if they come out with like remasters or other versions of it, I'll buy them all and play them all. Like I love it to bits, because it just has such a special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything in particular about Haley Joel Osment's performance through the years, or even in that first one, that sticks with you?
It's the fact that he was growing up with this character, and you felt like you were growing up with him. And it's very rare as an actor, right? And especially, I'm sure this is with child actors. I mean, I even saw it with Raised by Wolves. When you age physically, you're changing, especially as a kid, right? Especially as a kid. Like I remember, the kids who were in Raised by Wolves, they suddenly grew from season 1
and their voices were like 7 octaves lower all of a sudden.
Lord. And it's like they're changing. But the thing is with games, it's like the visuals is in control of the developer. Yeah. The voice, however, you can alter and play with. So you're growing with and this is the thing. This is why I loved Kingdom Hearts. Because it felt authentic and real. It felt great, and it felt like I was, I was hearing this young boy go through this. I could feel the emotion. I could understand it. I got it. I was communicating with him, especially in the sense of like, because I was young at the time playing this game. And then, when it comes to like 2 and, slightly old, like, older, but obviously you've grown as well. You feel like you've grown with this character. Now, obviously Haley's coming in with like, actual, knowledge now. And you're like, you can know that he knows what he's doing. So it's like, and then it just adds another layer. And I think he did it so masterfully in regards to still paying homage and respect to the character's age and the characters where they are, but at the same time bringing the knowledge and sort of experiences of his self growing up and that kind of element and putting it on the character. It was just, honestly, what a role, man.
Especially to start at 14.
Yeah, like to actually grow with this and actually feel like it doesn't feel like you're having to you're not cheating anybody. You are genuinely you're playing truths here. Like, it's such a blessing. Such a blessing.
Yeah. Well, I hope you get a chance to say that to his face someday.
I will lose my mind, probably. I will definitely,
One of our greatest joys that we did not quite clock would be such a great joy when we were recording and we first started recording this and then started to share it with the world is hearing from the performers who we talk about in these games. So when Matt Mercer talked about David Hayter's performance as Solid Snake and David getting to hear what Matt had to say was really, really special, and him hitting us back and letting us know, hey, tell Matt. So hopefully, Haley Joel Osment, you're listening somewhere, and you can hear, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the smile that you have put on Abu's face.
Honestly, it really sticks with me, and I remember just thinking to myself, like Tales of Kenzera is just, it's this amalgamation and mash of the things that I really love, as both growing up as a kid, but also being in the space that I'm in now. And Zhao was really supposed to be this, again, this like paying homage to Sora, because the performance that Haley just brought to it was just on another level, man.
That's amazing.
Well, I am looking forward to when one of our future guests talks about you in Zhao, because
Oh,
it's
man.
very, it's beautiful and heartbreaking and touching and funny, and it's just I can't I couldn't wish you more luck with this. Not that you need it, but
Thank you.
it's just it's a really, really beautiful way both to channel your own personal experience that may not have been wanted but turned into something beautiful for other people.
Thank you.
It's such a beautiful thing.
And I just wanted to point out, we didn't talk about it a little bit before, but I've noticed a theme both with the Matt episode and this episode of parents being, or grandparents being involved in the introduction of games to youth and supportive of. And that's something, even like as a mom now, there's a lot of parents who are like, they play so much Fortnite, they play so much of this.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for Matt's grandma, or if it wasn't for your dad being willing to be okay with you playing games, even managing it a little bit, I doubt you would have had this desire. And so I just
No,
think it's really
absolutely not.
special that it is coming from the parents, because, again, it's something that I think is met with resistance a lot of times because people don't understand it or get it as an art form.
I think we're definitely in a different time frame with games, right? You mentioned like the Fortnites. You've also got like Roblox and Minecraft, and these are you've got like these games have servers as well, so it's different types of games, right? But I remember also playing Gary's Mod and playing on servers of Gary's Mod, and meeting communities of people online and kind of connecting online, and that even with World of Warcraft, like that was my vibe. So yeah, I think there is a balance. There's a real balancing act, and I think I tell people as well, and both parents as well as like kids, like just play as much as you can. Play and all different types of games, because it's an art form. It's like watching film, right? You're not just going to stick to one TV show. Play them all, try them all, see them all. And I think like that's how you widen your knowledge of video games and almost protect yourself in a way, because you realize like, okay, there are these type of games I can play and really enjoy, and there are these type of games that actually I can escape to as well, rather than necessarily seeing one as your be all and end all. I was, again, I was really fortunate that my father was very much like, I didn't, get anything else. Like we didn't really do too much holiday, because most of the time it was spent to go to Kenya to see family, and wasn't really getting new clothes or buying, lots of new stuff. But what he would do is he would, buy me games, and it's an expensive hobby, so you'd only get like a few here and there. But it was the one, and randomly, he wouldn't, like, he'd get like random games on sale or whatever, and it was because these random games are a mix of everything from like Tekken to Viva Pinata to like to
Oh my gosh, I love
it's
that
like,
game.
do you know what I mean? Like it was just so random, to like 99 Nights, or like what was a random game you got me, which ended up being really, really cool. It was this game where essentially you had like 100 days as this like character, and you had to find a way of surviving through the 100 days. But it was very weird PC game, but like it really stuck with me, and I was like, this is great. And he just bought me all these, Red Alert. Like, why would you buy me Red Alert? But I loved it, and it was amazing as an RTS. And it was just like, he exposed me to so many games almost accidentally, that it allowed me to have this wide knowledge and love for all these different mediums. I see now games rather than nitty pitty grit sort of like the genre and break it down. I can appreciate them as an art form rather than necessarily see them as like, is this going to please me or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like some games, obviously, they're not going to please you and they're not going to stick with you, but that's like a film or a TV show. But I ain't going to go out and shout at the person for making
Right.
a terrible show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, some people on the internet would, but I appreciate that
Yeah,
you would
but
not and we would
no,
not, because you're
no.
right. It's art, it's subjective, and
It's
you
subjective, yeah.
you choose what resonates with you, and
Exactly.
the importance of lore too, especially when you're talking with people. Like I've noticed it with parents or grandparents or family members who maybe can't get into the game with the kids, but they are able to connect over the mutual understanding of the lore and how potent that is. And like you
Yes.
said at the very beginning of this, it was about your father listening.
It was just
so
just him
beautiful.
listening. It's
Just
so
that-
important.
Yeah. Oh, but we could talk with you for like hours. But I know it's late there. It's late there. We don't want to keep you. Where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
Oh, for sure. So I'm everywhere. I am, I mean, like, it's funny. I've had to be everywhere because of promoting the game and all this sort of stuff. But in truth, I'd rather just live in like a cabin in the woods. But no. But you can find me on Instagram as Abzi Salim. I'm on Twitter as well as Abzi Babzi. I am making a move to TikTok to just see what that's about, because I think it's a much different place and might be better for me mentally. But I'll be Abzi Salim there. But you can find my studios, my Surgent Studios. We're everywhere as well. Just the Surgent Studios on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter as well. And our game is on every platform. Tales of Kenzera Zao. It's on. Yeah, it's like that was a.
Which is a feat in itself.
Man,
Yeah.
oh my
It's a
God.
feat in
Oh
itself.
And
my
thank
God.
goodness for that,
I
because there's so
know.
many games that I want to play, and I'm like, I can't go out and buy this new system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
The
thought
game.
I thought it was going to be a Steam exclusive, and when I saw that that you were not Steam exclusive but PC only,
Yeah.
when I saw that you were cross-platform, I'm like, oh, that's amazing, so much more
Yeah,
accessible.
yeah.
But I know
It's
that
so
is
much
a
work,
a
so much
challenge.
work.
I mean, that's a whole episode in and of itself. It's just
Honestly,
talking about that.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a lot, but hey, we did it.
But you
We're
did
here,
it.
we're there.
Did it,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful, and people are getting a chance to receive it, and hopefully everyone who is listening to this will go out and immediately get a copy of it. Do it for yourselves.
Yep.
Seriously, it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful game. Abu, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you for having me.
Thank you
Truly,
for
thank
being
you.
here. Okay, so that's the end of our episode. If you like this episode, please do all the things, share and subscribe and click on the comments and like and all the different modes of telling people that they should listen to this podcast. Please do that for us. I'm going to do the standard thing that I do of pointing in whatever direction.
just go like this.
Somewhere there will be a thing. There will definitely be lots of information in the show notes, including Abu's short, including links to the game, where to find him on the internet. And don't forget to check out our Patreon, because we have a lot of fun stuff in there. I'm Anjali Bamani,
And I'm Julia Bianco.
and thank you for selecting Character Select today. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Character Select is recorded at Slap Studios, LA. Executive producers Rick Barrio-Dill, Julia Bianco-Scheffling, and Anjali Bamani. Producers Bree Curry and Madigan Hunt. Research assistant Amanda Mack. Intro animation by Bree Corey and Larissa Donahue, and additional editing by Josie Scott, and theme song by Rick Barrio-Dill. The views and opinions stated on this show are those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their employers. Thanks for listening.